In this video, we'll talk about the benefits of using Google Drawings in your classroom. Google Drawings is one of the Google apps or Google applications that you have access to. Unlike Google Docs, which is more for word processing, Google Drawings is intended to be a space where you and your students can display images, shapes, and text to create digital posters with clickable links, graphic organizers, diagrams, timelines. It's a canvas for creating. Google Drawings is ideal for students when you want them to put all of their work on one single canvas. One of the things I love about Drawings is that students can take up their whole screen with their workspace. It gives students a little more room than Google Slides. Another great thing about Drawings is that your students can collaborate on the same drawing in partners or even with the entire class. So let's take a closer look at Google Drawings and 11 ways that you can use it in your classroom. The first two ways to use Google Drawings that I'm going to show you are pretty basic but very useful. In this first example, this is one of my student slides. She's creating a book in writing that's all about the coral reef. Her book is a handwritten book, but she wants to add in those real images. So what she did is she simply used Google Drawings as just a space to collect those images, and then we can easily print this one page, and she can cut apart those images and glue them right into her book. The next example is very similar as well. This student was writing all about deserts, and he wanted to create his cover with a real photo of a desert. So what he did was change the size of this Google drawing to 8.5 by 11. He simply found an image, put it on there, and then inserted his title and his name for the author. After he's finished, I can easily print this out and he can staple it to his handwritten book. The rest of the uses for Google Drawings are not intended to be printed, but they always can be, of course. In this activity, I inserted an image of a flower, and I just drew out some arrows. And then on the left-hand side of this screen, I created words that my students will just click and drag to label the diagram. You could create any type of diagram for your students, and your students could also create a diagram. Another use for Google Drawings is creating a timeline. One of the things I love about Drawings is that you can change the shape of the workspace. So you can see that I've created a very horizontal rectangle here. Students can insert real images from Google Drawings, and they can also link to other websites and even videos. So if you look in the center of my screen, if I click on Led the Montgomery Bus Boycott, and then I click below on the link that appears, this link will take me to learn more about the Montgomery bus boycott. Another way to use Google Drawings is with a flowchart or really any type of diagram. Students can insert images right from Google Drawings. They can insert arrows. They can bold important words, and they can link to other websites and videos that will help enhance their learning. So if I click on the title, How Orange Juice is Made, you can see that it has been linked to a video that actually shows how orange juice is made. Drawings can be used for graphic organizers. This is a very simple graphic organizer where my students compared two different versions of Cinderella, and they actually worked on it with another person. So an amazing thing about Google Drawings is that your students can collaborate. Both of my students were in this drawing at the same time, and they were both able to work on it together. This would be an activity that I would have created for my students, and they would just click and drag these words onto their map. This could be used even for an assessment if your students are required to know the different countries and landforms in North America. Drawings can also be used for math manipulatives. So if you don't have access to all those math manipulatives, or you're cut short on time and you just don't have the time to get them all out, you can have students work on their computers and simply click and drag out math manipulatives and then type in what is shown. You could create 10 frames and counters on this page. You could have students drag out hundreds, tens, and ones and add them all up. You could create all sorts of math manipulatives in Google Drawings. You can also use drawings for word work activities. So if my students were studying long I words, they could click and drag out their letters to spell a long I word. And then you could even create a making words activity. How can you change bike into hike? How can you change hike into hiked? And so on. That's a great way to use it as well. You can also use Google Drawings as a full class activity. What I did is I created this blank space and it said insert one image that is an example of a natural resource. After we had talked about natural resources, I gave my students access to the same Google Drawings. So all of them inserted their own image into Google Drawings, and they can even insert a text box. So within a few minutes, you can have all of your students insert an image onto the same Google Drawing to check for understanding. And you're even able to see who put on which image or text box. After each student puts their picture on, I would have all the kids come back full group, and we can discuss what has been put into this space. The last way of using Google Drawings that I'm going to show you today is a digital poster. This was kind of an end of the unit activity. I gave my students a completely blank Google Drawing, and they had to create a poster to show what they had learned throughout the unit. They inserted their titles and their images and little labels. You can see that when I click on the Yosemite picture, this person also linked a website to that picture to learn more about it. A digital poster is a great way for students to show what they've learned, and they can work on this in partners or even in small groups. Now, these are just some of the ways that you can use Google Drawings. I bet you're already thinking of some ways that you can use them in your classroom. Keep watching the videos in this module to learn about Google Slides, another one of my favorite apps, and then how you can start creating activities for your students.